started a company called Engage Buy Sell about 16 years or so ago, all designed to use a phone to solve business problems. And we never envisioned that it would be ruling our lives, like it or not, but it is. And the greatest focus we've got and the biggest part of our business is the uses for things like safety and training and alerts and notifications, things that used to be impossible, but now you can do through technology. And Jay and I are going to talk back and forth about a bunch of different topics. And Jay, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll get the show on the road.
Sure, Dave. Thanks. I'm Jay Hamme. I've spent 32 years at the Coca-Cola Company doing environmental health safety as well as really um, logistics operations, plant management. And Dave, I'm not seeing the slide change.
All right, I see the speakers. Do you see the speakers?
I do. I was just wondering if
Mm-hmm.
Anna can change the slide.
Yeah, and move it over to Jay's slide if you would. There we go.
But so my latest role as VP of Quality and Safety and Health was at Coca-Cola. Like I said, I've had previous operations management roles. I've done plant management, logistics, transportation management, and environmental stewardship. And I do consulting for quality and safety. And I met Anna at the ASSP conference and along with many other folks. And just, it's a passion of mine. It's where I started out and truly enjoy it and talking to anybody. So if you want to connect with me, you're welcome to. But really I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. And 30 years has prepared me to try and really share my knowledge with everyone who wants to hear it. So thanks. I appreciate it, Dave and Anna.
Maybe a little less day-to-day pressure now. When you wake up in the morning, Jay, you don't have to check your pager, your beeper, your phone, your whatever devices, your BlackBerry. I mean, I would guess that
Oh,
there was a little pressure at Coke and some of these other
I
roles when things would
I'm
go
I'm
off
gonna
the rails.
I'm gonna share a story, Dave, and you'll find this interesting, and we all laugh about it, and it's not private or confidential. So my last day, March 15th, and we all had to turn, I had to turn because I took a package, we had to turn our computers in by noon. Well, that morning there was an ammonia leak in the system, and it was going to an emergency management, crisis resolution stuff we do. And people were like, "Well, we have a call this afternoon. Are you going to be on it?" I was like, "I'm sorry. I really am sorry, but I have to turn my computer and all my equipment in, and I will not be on the afternoon call." And it was honestly very refreshing. So yes.
Oh, that would have been a high pressure call right there. And nobody ever says, "Good job, safety people." They just basically expect it to work 100%. That's why everybody on the call, we owe a debt of gratitude for sure. And to go back a few slides, I'll just introduce our company. Everything that we do is a mobile-based solutions. We don't use apps. Nothing has to be downloaded, and we'll show you some things at the end of Jay's presentation. But we'll show at the end of the presentation Jay's phone number and email. And if you'd ever like to consult with Jay, you'll have a great chance to do that through LinkedIn or through his contact, and he would welcome your help. We've got to know Jay, and he is one fabulous guy. So I think you'd really appreciate bouncing any issues you've got off of him, since he's got such great industry experience. All right. Some of the names, big and small organizations that we work with, not just in the safety space, but in the mobile world. All right, well, let's get into it. What has changed, Jay? When you and I were prepping for this, we made a list of about 50 things that have changed, and we just picked 5 or 6 here. And we would love to hear in the chat window for those of you that have been in the EHS and safety space over the last 5 to 10 years, let's see a running commentary of some of the things that you have noticed in your environment. But tick off some of these, Jay, on what you have seen as the biggest changes, and then we'll talk about the implications of this.
Sure. I mean, we talked about the demographics and the generational diversity. And what I was seeing the last probably 5 to 6 years was the variation that of the workers that we were getting and the way they were coming in with the different basic knowledge and skills. So on our highly technical equipment, that started to not become our problem for new people because they were so familiar with screens and touch screens and the way automation worked. But that was much more of a challenge for maybe some of our more mature workers, and then vice versa. We had to spend a lot of time with something that was a much more manual task, had many more safety issues for visual learning, making sure we did assessments before we turned them loose, because just the difference and the difference in learning across our generations has really probably changed. And I think it's probably most diverse right now in the workforce because we're crossing how many generations, and we had to vary our techniques a lot to really try and make sure that people understood the why. So,
Mm.
why does this, we had to explain the why a lot more at the end in the last 5 years, because, we just don't, we don't have it's so varied, right? It's so varied. And then, you know, you have the ability now to Google just about anything, YouTube anything, right, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to do anything, you can YouTube it, you can get tutorials. People were really used to our younger workforce was really used to being able to have that at their fingertips and,
And expected
man,
it and demanded it. Why would I not have it at my fingertips?
exactly. Why would I have to go somewhere to look at a manual?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you buy a car, you rarely get a manual nowadays. You get a link to the app and the manual's in your app.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's you're constantly being bombarded with more information. So where it was when you went to work, you were pretty much at work early on. Now it's a constant information overload, is what I call
Mm-hmm.
it. So
Mm-hmm.
the multitasking that once was, hey, eyes on task, mind on task type of mentality and focus on one thing, although that's ideal, I don't think it's realistic because there's so much going around and going on around you. So many alerts. As a safety professional, we've added alerts, we've added alarms, we've added feedback with sometimes maybe not an understanding of what that overload is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I would walk out on the floor and find out somebody turned the alarm off. It's like, why'd you turn the alarm off? And well, because I already know it's broke and everybody knows it's broke. Why do I need to have the alarm on all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a really, I think as we've gotten a much more diverse workforce, we've added robotics, we've added in automation, that the learning saturation styles have changed. So, and we have to be flexible because there's so much variation in it and diversity.
The idea of the working demographic, your first point, how big of a problem is that for companies that have not really changed? I mean, I would be interested to see, are some of the people on the call today still doing classroom training, which of course is the traditional way to go. And then that moved into computer training, and that was earth-shattering, I'm sure. If you have people that came from the YouTube to computer to, I'm going to sit in a classroom for 2 months, 2 days, what do you recommend for the people that are on this call? How do you use training and get the word out that appeals to those three segments?
I'll give you an example on lockout tagout. And our lockout tagout was very structured. I mean, it was classroom, it was observation. And we started to see we had great success early on with classroom training and understanding and doing those observations. We started to see it deteriorate and we had more issues. And which, okay, why are we seeing more issues? Why are we seeing people not follow this? And it was the classroom training could not address every situation. And even though you would maybe tell folks, hey, don't do it. If you don't know how to do it, please come and tell us, right? We don't want you to get hurt. They had such a desire to do their job well and such a desire to be productive, they would make an assumption. Whereas you and I started to talk, I was introduced to really, the benefits of texting probably in 2007 by an employee. I was a plant manager, an employee who said, hey, instead of me trying to come and track you down, do you mind if I just text you? First time an employee said, hey, can I just text you? Because he was on the other side of the plant. I said, sure, yeah, that's fine. I'd love it. If at least we can get to the issue because he was on a depalletizer with that could be very dangerous. So, it was an open communication. And when he had an issue, I could get him a response.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have to wait. He didn't have to make an assumption. He didn't have to go look for a supervisor. If he didn't know what to do with, a bad product or a pallet that was locked into some place he couldn't get out, he could text me or eventually then the supervisors and say, hey, I have an issue. This is what I think, but can you come here and look at it or should I wait? And so what we found was a great desire for people don't want to wait. They want to do the right thing. They want to get product moving and they don't have the ability to ask the immediate question and they don't have the answer, which no training is going to give you every answer. They really need that. It's beneficial to have that outlet to get them a response to show that, hey, I heard you. I got it. Thanks for letting me know. And you're on track or I need to send somebody out there because I don't want you to mess with it. And I think that's where, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the phone, whether it's connected to the library of training materials, or it's a simple text, or it's an app, it's something. It is the way that more and more people they're first looking at their phone. And if they can't get it on their phone, they're going to make a decision, whether it's a right or wrong decision. So it just seems as though in the safety and EHS space, it's just all moving towards having that information mobile friendly and available, whether it's two-way communication or it's just this repository of content.
We started to use the virtual goggles for maintenance so that they could automatically have the manuals as they were looking at the equipment.
Right.
And piloted that. And again, some people are going to be more proficient at that than others, but those who love it and embraced it, and that was their thing. They loved that and had immediate connection with that manual. So it's I think that ability to get people an answer quickly because they're moving on to the next thing. I think that's important in today's world.
And let's move to the next slide where we're going to talk a little bit about challenges, or I guess the poll. Are we going to do the poll next? Yeah. Everybody, let's take 30 seconds. And if you don't see what challenges you're facing in the sheet, go ahead and stick them in the chat window. But pick one or two or three that really it's resonating with you folks. I'm watching them come in. Maybe you can see them too, Jay. And as I said, if you don't see it here, put it in the chat window. All right, let's go with the answers. What do we have as the answers, Anna?
Yeah, Dave.
All right. So do you see do all of you see the answers, or is it just me? I know I see them.
I can see them.
You can see them. Mary and Kara, can you see the answers? Yeah, great. Okay. Pretty evenly split here, Jay. I think some of the ones that we included actually were problematic. So why don't we end the poll, Anna, and we'll look at this this slide which has these on it, and we'll just go down the list and see if you have the same issues. So Jay, today's challenge is caused by all these issues with demographics and not enough training and different methods of absorption of content. We added the bullet, the safety bar is much higher today. 20 years ago, safety was important, but not like it is today. How big of a deal is this focus on either lawsuits or it's your responsibility to keep me safe? Is that a big challenge?
I think it ties into the fight for talent, and people want to be in a safe environment, an environment that's they're able to learn from and you know basically have a great experience at work. And that safety bar over the last few years, it's and you can take COVID results in or out of it, but the reduction has slowed a little bit. There's still been a total reduction, but severity has all of a sudden gone up.
Right.
And so when you look across industry and things and you see the severity going up, nobody wants to that to people when they're not going to go home in the same or better. We always used to say, hey, we want you to go home in the same or better shape than what you came in, and be able to spend time with your family. That that I think is important. And with the fight for talent and the unemployment where it is, if people don't feel safe or feel like the environment's conducive to them, they will move, and they will actually absolutely move on.
Do you think that the workplace is safer today than it was 10 years ago? Or are statistics showing it's actually not?
I would say it's probably safer. I think the reason that we have severity, and this is purely my opinion, but when we looked at some of the severe severity and we looked at it, we're like, why would people do that? You just have some questions like, why would you do that? And you come back to it and you start questioning people who would be very honest. We did some open surveys and open conversations with people, and they would say, well, I didn't know that when it meant conveyor was going to start, conveyor starts automatically. I didn't know what that meant. and and you look at that and it's like, wow, okay, that's important to me. That piece that you just told me is extremely important to me. That so it's I think we're probably there's so many things in there with forklift lights, with alarms, with everything, that we've tried to make it safer, but in an effort we may have gone past some of what we expect people to come in and know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just started a program and we said, hey, let's go back let's take people and walk them through the line. Let's make sure they understand everything. Yes, they may have worked in another industry, but let's just do it because
Right.
that's important. So that's my opinion on that
Hmm. Do you
because I
think
know how much we've done.
on this third bullet of generation integrity, do you think that the average younger worker is much less prepared for a factory, for a mechanical, for a use your hands kind of a job than maybe 10, 20 years ago?
I think when you get down to the basic mechanical, yes. When you look at the robotics, and we had uh, robotic pick lines,
Hmm.
those the younger people were more apt to know the hazards of going in there with that robotic machine and how to deal with it than vice versa. So it's almost like you have to work the skills on what people's strengths are. And so, and just realize there's a difference. So, and everybody needs to know everything. Don't assume that they're coming in with 5 years or 10 years of manufacturing experience. And that experience was in robotics because it probably wasn't, and vice versa. Don't think they know what automated conveyors are.
Hmm. Older people are having a harder time with all of the new digital protocol, would you say?
Um, oh yeah. I think there's more of a there's number one, there's a fear, number one. And we implemented a digital quality system, and I actually lost some operators just because they couldn't validate and verify because we had some automation there.
Hmm.
And to them, that was bad to them. So they retired and left, and that was fine. And they didn't want to learn it, and they were afraid they would make a mistake that would cost a lot of money. And so we lost some people because of digitization
Hmm.
over the years. And so, but I think and on the other hand, I think there's some that will embrace it, but you have to spend the time and effort and not expect it and have that resource available so when they have an issue, it's available to be fixed.
The last bullet, I think is interesting, tech resistance from management. I think from what I've read, management is very apt to try to do automation, et cetera, but to use like mobile tech in a factory to communicate with people that there's a chlorine leak, that's going to take some time that don't you think for management to really embrace the full power of what an employee could actually access on their phone?
I think, well, yes, to answer that question, yes. And then two, I was a plant manager and we laughed about Waco, Texas, but I was a plant manager in Waco, Texas when the West fertilizer explosion
Yeah.
happened. And the senior leaders of the organization, because it happened early in the morning, um, I was getting calls early. Is everybody okay? And I said, well, we're checking. And they're like, well, we need to know. And I think that instance opened up at least our company's eyes, my company's eyes, to this fact that we need to be better, faster, quicker, the reaction, because we want to know,
Hmm.
number one, how are our employees? And from that point on, Dave, it kind of opened up the doors, but it seems like it takes
An
an
event.
event.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
and that's true about even, a pending hurricane or weather. If you have a factory with 500 people, how do you necessarily get the word out? Well, there's the old-fashioned way, but gosh, if you could just send a text to say, "Hey, everybody, in 15 minutes, things are not looking good outside. Let's go to our stations." There's just nothing more efficient than that.
And that's honestly the best thing for everybody. And I think it's the thing that's challenged us even more, Dave, is the cybersecurity
Mhm.
levels. So that has added a little bit of resistance for companies too. So, I know you probably have tons of experience breaking through those hurdles.
Uh-huh.
And so it's important to partner with a company that knows how to do that can meet all the requirements that
Right.
any of the IT folks have out there. So that's the other
Yep.
thing.
Yep. It's a good point. And let's move on to the next topic. So some new solutions. Maybe review a couple of your favorites here, Jay. We're kind of getting into the meat of the webinar here. What are some of the things that you see on this list that, in your mind, if you were running a safety department, you would enact?
Uh, Definitely the constant and smaller pieces of information. So more frequent throughout the day, smaller pieces of information, and that those are probably the two because I
Mm-hmm.
there's so much fight from all the social media from everything out there. Who's going to get to you first and who's going to be the last message you read at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And if you can do that and be successful, and you know COVID helped us a lot
Mm-hmm.
because we figured out how to do things we said could never be done without people interaction. We figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say. The constant messaging, so that drips throughout the day, and then smaller pieces of info, coupled closely with cater to the visual learning,
Mm-hmm.
the videos and photos, and I mean that's incredibly powerful. So,
Yep.
but yeah,
All right. Great. Let's go to the next. I think you've got a poll here, or all right, everybody. We have a poll question. Love to know if you're using some of the technology that we've got on this checklist, from cameras to texting to training videos. So go ahead and answer a few of these, and we'll see which ones you're using and not using. All right, Anna, that's good. We can end it. Looks like artificial intelligence, cameras, not so much. Digital forms, everybody's using digital forms. Yeah, that's been around a while, which is so darn important. A few people on the texting, and everybody's using training videos, which is probably something that came into play 10, 15 years or so ago. If you would all do me a favor and take out your phone, let's show you how you can sign up for the safety alerts that Jay's talking about. We have just a few texts that will go out. So hold up your phone, everybody, to the screen, and you'll get a text message window that pops up, and hit send. And now you, just like anybody in your company or your vendors or on your team, are now on this list. And Anna will send you out a couple of fake text messages in a second. The kinds of technology that companies are using, I think you all saw the video short messages, texting. Any of you using Chat GPT? If so, let us know how you're using it in the chat window. Augmented reality was a big thing, Jay. I don't see as much of it today as it was. What's the reason for that?
I think your AI and some of that and deviation recognition through camera
Mm,
systems has kind of somewhat taken over the augmented reality.
yeah, yeah. And it was a little bit of a heavy lift to implement, and expensive. Collision sensors, man down, all kinds of things. The ROI on most of these technologies, Jay, what's your experience when you've implemented technologies on the ROI? Are they half positive, half negative, mostly positive? What have you found?
They've been, I mean, everything we've implemented has been positive, and we've been able to quantify it. Now, what I would say when you do the ROIs, you have to look, and as my career progressed through just from safety to operations to
Mhm.
transportation, I was able to look at a wider spread of benefits. So I could tie it to customer response, I could tie it to customer experience, and throw those things into an ROI because the defect rates were less. So it's keeping employees safe and on the floor versus trying to find a replacement worker. The productivity was always going to be better.
Mhm.
So, and these technologies all help do that.
Mhm.
So I can, like I said, if I'm always up for helping folks who, maybe need trying to justify something, you know,
Yep.
let's look beyond just what's common and says, oh, we're moving from paper to
Mhm.
digital. These texting, these reach outs can be very beneficial for the
Yep.
price.
For those of you that texted, scan that QR code, you should have received a safety tip that says safety to do, check out these quick tips. And then there's a little URL just to some YouTube video about a safety tip. So you can see that could be about how to clean a machine or safety for this morning because of some new piece of equipment. Um, our company provides the texting, which you see on the left side here, and then a mobile platform. So maybe I'll show you a couple of examples. I think Anna will send you another example of maybe because it's so hot outside, if you're an outdoor worker, it's going to be time to remember to take a water break. Perhaps you just got that text. But like Jay had said, you can use all of these features in a phone, including the simple sending text messages out, whether it's text chat or photos. People can take pictures of an incident report and submit it. All this stuff can be done on individual folks' phone. And then finally, if you would like to, do me a favor, everybody, and scan that QR code, and you'll end up seeing a sample little safety mobile site that our company uses for demos. But as you can see, you've got training manuals and micro lessons. This could all be customized for your own enterprise. And that's one of the services that we've got. All right. Well, that's our presentation. We will send you this information tomorrow. And Jay's email is there, and he has a nice LinkedIn page, so feel free to contact him as well. Jay, any final thoughts about the world of using tech for innovating and improving safety?
Yeah, there's so much out there. Anytime you can increase your knowledge, such as this, Dave, and at the conferences and things like that, there's just a ton that I go to every year and I see something new. So, and if you haven't used, you put Chat GBT on there. I app post when I retired, I know it's consultant, somebody was using it. It's phenomenal. You
It
have to
is.
check it, but
Yeah.
to do things and to make work faster, it is a phenomenal tool. So all of these things, just be open and get out there and see what other people are
Yeah.
doing.
And if anybody wants help thinking that through, contact Jay. If any of you on the call would like to see how you can use some of these mobile sites or texting, contact me. And otherwise, we'll keep you on our list and we'll send you this information that we presented today. We'll send it to you tomorrow. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Anna, and everybody. And we'll wrap up now and contact you in the future to see if you have any questions for us. Thanks so much, Jay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.